Hello everyone! Today we're going to learn how to weave on burlap. When you get your piece of burlap, it will be a rectangle shape. The lines of material running up and down are the warp, and the lines running left to right are the weft. Before we begin, you can start by pulling a few pieces off from all of the sides so that you're going to take this and turn it into that. Just gives it a nice little border. Now to begin, you're going to decide what material you are weaving. Your choices are yarn, or you could use embroidery floss. Part of it's going to depend on what type of needle you prefer. We have large yarn needles and we have smaller embroidery needles. If you are interested in using the yarn needle, you'll notice that when you poke it through, it does leave a little bit of a bigger hole. If you don't mind that, then you could use the yarn. If you'd rather work with embroidery floss today, you'll notice that because it's a smaller needle, it can go through quite easily. Once you decide what you're going to use, you want to make some room by pulling out some of the weft strands. So those are our left to right ones. I'm going to reach in and trying to pull out just one strand, which is tricky. Okay, pull it all the way out. And now we're creating this little channel where we can weave into. And so you can pull a few out, and as you pull, you might get a few more pieces that come out. And so pick a few spots that you're gonna pull out some of the weft. I now have a few channels set up, and I'm going to begin by using yarn. So when I measure my yarn, you want to measure at least an arm's length, or you could measure a wingspan, which is both arms. Taking the very, very end of your yarn, pinching it, putting it up against the eye of the needle and pulling it through. Now I'm going to leave this as a little tail. And when I'm weaving with it, I do kind of want to pinch so that I am not losing my tail. When you're weaving on burlap, you are going to set your own pattern. So it could be over one, under one, over one, under one, but it also could be a different pattern. Maybe you're going to do over two, under three, over two, under three. And so just by looking at these strands, you're going to decide what pattern you want to do. I'll pick a over 3, under 3 to start with, and that pattern is going to repeat the entire length of the weaving. So I will finish that and pulling through as I go. Notice I'm pinching right here so I don't lose it. And then pick up where I left off, counting 1, 2, 3, 3 and 3. And doing your best to get all the way across. When you get all the way across, you have a couple decisions you could make. You could either just have it be one stripe and then cut the loose ends. If you have enough and you want to go back the other direction, you could do that. Just remember that you do need to go opposite. So if I ended on an over, I have to go back on an under, and so on and so forth. So I'm going to finish this and show you. Okay, I got through, and from far away it almost looks like it made that castle top design. And that's a fun way you can add your own lines in when you're weaving. It doesn't have to be straight across. You could do a zigzag line, you could do a dash line. You have a lot of options to be creative. So I'll do a few other lines just to show you. I have a little bit more done. This pattern is 4 and 4, so over 4, under 4. This one's 2 and 2. And I wanted to show you how we can use these in-between spaces so that you're not just running rows across. You can also be decorative in the in-between. So if I poke up from the back, and be careful not to pull all the way through, I'm going to, instead of going straight across, I'm going to go down. This is going to be a little bit more like sewing. I'm going to come back up the very next square over and then go up to make the letter V. So I sew back down again. There, so I have a letter V. And then now I'm going to poke back up next to where I just finished and start my next V. And this is going to create a zigzag line. So you also can embroider, which means to sew a pattern or sew designs in the in-between parts. And the more you do it, the more comfortable you get and the faster you can stitch. And so this is a nice way to kind of bring up a little bit more interest in your design. I'll add a few more details and show you what I have at the end. To finish off your project, for the most part, you can leave the ends loose. If you did some embroidery stitches and you're a little worried about them slipping, you could turn them over and take 2 stitches that are side by side and just carefully tie a double knot, and that will help secure those stitches. To complete your project, there are a few different ways you could finish this off. One way I have seen is to glue the entire piece onto a back of a piece of paper and then decorate the paper. You could also glue and fold over the top, or even weave in a stick on the top, and then you can hang the loom and have it as a little small wall hanging. So I hope this tutorial was helpful for you, and enjoy your beautiful loom.